I thought navy blue was going out of style. Okay, I didn't actually think that, but with the amount of navy blue houses I drive by in my neighborhood and navy blue kitchen cabinet islands I come across, you would think that people might be a bit sick of it, but it looks like they're not. And that's good with me because I enjoy blue nearly as much as green. Today we're looking at a pretty wonderful navy blue called Stooky blue, spelled stiffkey, which is a very interesting pronunciation, but let's just move on. This color is almost a shaded charcoal blue that Farrow & Ball describes as inky. And yes, this paint color is by the British paint company called Farrow & Ball.
And what planet are you from, London?
So what I'm going to do, like in every episode of Color Quickie, welcome, I'm going to tell you some ways you can use this color effectively in your home or even on your home. Spoiler. Most importantly, I've also prepared a full-on color scheme to work with it. So if you love this color and you want some ideas on how you can incorporate it with other colors, this is your video. Even if you don't use Farrow & Ball paint all that often or at all, hopefully this color palette will inspire you to put together your own color palette in whichever paint company you see fit. Or you can try your hand at some custom color matches, which is, sometimes hit or miss. Good luck. All right, so Stooky blue, never gonna get used to that pronunciation. This is really a lovely, rich color. I feel it also feels quite balanced as a blue because sometimes your navies that are really saturated can have an undertone that's more purple leaning or green or teal leaning. This one feels pretty balanced overall, not too purple and no real green in practical use normally, but what it does have is an added dose of black and gray, which gives you a shaded blue, and it ends up feeling pretty dramatic as a color. It's also very dark. Now, normally paint companies, they tell us the light reflectance value, which lets us know how dark it actually is, but Farrow & Ball doesn't. So my guess is it's probably somewhere around 10 or 11 or 12, which means it only reflects about 10% of the light that hits it. This means it'll look very, very dark in your home, especially if you don't have a ton of lighting, which isn't necessarily a bad thing or a good thing. It's just the thing that it is. It's also kind of cool to see Farrow & Ball mention this color as being a contemporary alternative to downpipe, which is another paint color that is more of a charcoal gray. This is very much in line with people wanting to incorporate more actual color in their home. So instead of a charcoal gray or an off black or gray, those are sort of neutrals that don't really have cool or warm tendencies. Stooky blue is blue at the end of the day. No matter how shaded it is compared to other blues, it's still gonna give you that beautiful dose of blue, which is nice.
It's nice.
I guarantee you that whichever room you use this color in, you're going to notice its hue pretty prominently. And what's fun is that shaded quality of it, meaning the added black within the color, means in darker rooms, it will feel much more brooding and prestigious. I'm not sure if brooding sounds very complimentary, but it's more so dramatic and maybe moody is the better word for it. But then on the flip side, in those spaces that do get a lot of light, that blue will really pop and come to life based on how saturated it is. I mean, there's tons of colorant in there. Not that I've mixed a can myself, but I can only assume. I've seen this color be compared to Benjamin Moore's Evening Dove as well, although I find that one to be just a touch more shaded and dark, maybe even gray leaning. The Farrow & Ball blue has a lot of life to it, I find, which is why I've seen it used on anything from built-in cabinetry to living rooms, dining room walls, front doors, even entire house exteriors, especially ones that are made of siding. It's a beautiful color that will have a really strong impact without feeling overly polarizing and annoying and just in your face. And that helps explain why so many people use it on their projects. So if you have an upcoming paint project and you want to use this color, but you don't know what to use it with, well, guess what? James is here to help you. We got some color pairings coming up, and if you want to help me out a little bit, press the like button and share this video with your friends if they're having some color issues as well. I mean, we all are, honestly, even me. So the first pairing I want to present to you, just my opinion, is Purbeck Stone. And this is a mid-tone grayish that feels very relaxed as a neutral paint color. And yes, I said grayish, so it's a combination of warm beige and contemporary modern lifeless gray. The good news is it has enough warmth in it to complement Stooky blue in a beautiful way. You can really rely on Purbeck Stone that just works in the majority of your home. Wherever you want something a little more passive and not necessarily polarizing, something that's a little more just chill, it's a great default color, I would say. Now, if you wanted something a little bit different in the secondary spaces of your home, I would suggest looking at Kaluna, which has a similar level of depth to Purbeck Stone, Maybe it's a bit lighter actually, but what you end up having here is this powdery lilac heather purple, I would say. What's great about it is it's subtle yet kind of sassy. I like that made up word, sassy. I don't know why. And honestly, I really love when it's being used as the one main paint color in a room, minus a few furnishings. But give it a little bit of Stooky blue as well to bring in some richness and that bold blue. I think they're a match made in heaven. Finishing up with 3 colors from the California collection by Farrow & Ball. We have another wall color or accent color, and then we have 2 trim colors. What I love about the California collection is it's very much Los Angeles inspired. Hilly Wurstler is the designer that put it together, and I think there's some really fun choices in here. So the color that I've elected as the accent choice is Citrona. And this is even more so an accent than Stooky Blue, because just look at it. It's super dynamic, super vibrant.
You gotta look at it this way, okay? You just gotta look at it. That's all you can do anymore.
And you might be familiar with this sort of pairing, especially outside, where you might have a navy blue house with a rich golden yellowy front door, or maybe a chair that's painted yellow on the porch, you know, that kind of classic combination. Citrona is sort of a contemporary earthy chartreuse that doesn't have a ton of green in its undertones, although, you know, every chartreuse has a little bit at least. The greeny aspect in this color is more so coming from, I think, a gray to give it this slightly grounded feeling to it. I mean, as grounded as chartreuse can get, I suppose. Extremely punchy. And yes, you can use it on walls, but just keep in mind, it's going to be very dramatic. So just be sure you're ready for it. You're about that chartreuse life. Last 2 from the collection are my trim options, and I have a light and a dark choice for you. Salt is a crisp white that feels to me like a very, very light gray, kind of like a crystalline sort of salt crystal color, I suppose. What's nice about it is because it's not overly bright, it won't feel overpowering to your eyes, and it'll blend in really nicely with the rest of the colors. Probably a great choice for many people as a trim and baseboard choice, but you might also want to double down on your wall color onto your trim depending on the space. So something like chartreuse or even Stooky Blue, even Kaluna really. Those are colors that maybe you want on your wall and your trim, just to make sure you're using the right paint for the right surface. But for everyone else that's looking for white trim or light trim, give Salt a try. My dark trim option is Tar, which is one of the off blacks by Farrow & Ball, and there are a few, although this one just feels a little bit restrained and especially softened, almost a mix of black and gray, which is supposed to represent paved roads that have been exposed to California's sun for years and years and years. I love Farrow & Ball. Very poetic descriptions. Although I was just paraphrasing. What's great about that faded quality is I wouldn't necessarily want to pick a darker black trim. I went with this one because with the variety of different colors in this color scheme, I didn't want to go with a really dark black paint for the trim because it might end up feeling a bit too contrasty and maybe a bit overwhelming. So I don't want to do that. That's not my goal here. Here's the palette all together. Let me know what you think. And also, if you want to support us on this channel, you can subscribe. We do 6 videos a week. And if you really want to support us even more, consider becoming a member today by clicking that join button. It's cheaper than the price of a coffee. And I'm not even talking about Starbucks, like Tim Hortons, maybe even Keurig.